Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk about self-employment and some of the less glamorous aspects of it. I feel like self-employment is really idealized by our society right now. It's very hip to be self-employed, especially if you're like me and you travel around for work. It's very Instagram ready. It makes you look very cool. But I also think that there are a lot of more difficult sides of being self-employed, and we don't always talk about that. And so when I quit my job and started doing the work that I do, I was kind of blindsided by certain things. So I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts, things that I wish I could go back in time and tell myself about. I'm working on some tea today. I have this mug that I still have from my childhood. It has a bear and two mice on roller skates. And I have memories of drinking hot chocolate out of this on rainy days. And it's just delightful. So remember to grab yourself a beverage if you don't have one, guys. Hydration is very important. So for anyone that doesn't know my situation, I've been doing freelance modeling work for about 5 years now, a little over, and then I've been belly dancing professionally for I want to say 3 years, something like that. And then I've been kind of doing this the whole time, but it's sort of gradually ramped up over the last few years. I also have a freelance marketing business. So I have a few different things that I do, and that's kind of the personality that I have. I like to do a lot of different kinds of work. I get really bored if I'm doing the same thing day in and day out. And I was interested in being self-employed for a really long time before I actually did it. I told this story in a different video, but I did it a little bit impulsively, and I didn't really have much of a financial safety net or just a life safety net in case things went wrong, which they did. I was sort of naive about being a business owner and being self-employed at the time. I really thought it was a superior form of work. I think I kind of thought that a lot of problems in my life would sort of just magically disappear once I became self-employed, which they did not. And so one of the first lessons that I learned along the way was that people are hella judgmental. When you quit your job to start doing something new, especially if that thing is not paying you money right away, which starting a new business, it's probably not, you're gonna deal with some comments and some questions from people in your life. And some of that is just concern for your well-being, how are you gonna support yourself and stuff. And that's one thing, but then there's a certain amount of prejudice to going against the grain in society. I have two layers of it because I'm self-employed, but then I'm also a nude model, which is extra scandalous. And I did lose a couple of friends once I started being self-employed, which was really hard for me. I didn't see it coming. Both of those friendships were really, really long term. I thought that we were gonna be friends forever, and they kind of disappeared from my life. And it did make me feel more insecure about the fact that I was kind of going against the grain and doing something different with my employment. It definitely affected my confidence for a while to tell people about what I was doing. But at the end of the day, concern for your well-being is one thing, that's being a good friend, but anyone that's being toxic or overly judgmental about your choices, about what's best for you, is not someone you need to have in your life. And now that I've been doing this type of work for over 5 years, everyone in my life is really supportive of me. Everybody in my life really believes in me. And I just wouldn't want to give a lot of energy to a relationship where they didn't approve of my lifestyle or the type of work that I did. Because at the end of the day, you can't convince someone to respect you if they don't respect you. You have to believe that you are worthy of respect, and just don't give people time and energy if they aren't giving you the respect that you deserve. Another thing that I learned very quickly is that taxes are a constant chore. Oh my God. So when I had a regular job, I would get my little tax form at the end of the year, and I would take 15 minutes to enter my information online, and then usually I would get money back, because when you have like a regular job, they normally will withhold a portion of your income for taxes. And generally that's going to be more than you actually owe in taxes, so that's the refund that you get. When you're self-employed, nobody's withholding money for your taxes. So how it works is every time I do a shoot, I make a certain amount of money. I have to keep track of that money. I have to be careful to like deposit it to the bank that month so that it shows a record matching the amount that I'm claiming for income in case I get audited. And then because I'm self-employed, I can deduct my business expenses from my income, which reduces the overall amount of taxes I have to pay. So that means like every time I buy a wardrobe for a shoot, I have to keep track of that receipt and record it. My travel expenses for the trips that I take for modeling, makeup, belly dance costumes. I have to keep track of all of it, and it's a lot of work. And then at the end of that time, when I go to file my taxes, because nobody is withholding money on my behalf, I always owe money. I don't get a refund anymore, which is not particularly fun. And a lot of people, when they're new to being self-employed, don't like realize that they have to keep track of their income and their expenses, and that they need to be saving like 20 to 30% of their income for taxes. It's usually not going to be that much after deductions and everything, but it's better to have like too much saved than not enough, because it's really stressful if you have like, say, a $5,000 tax bill and you don't have that money on hand ready to go. 2019 was the first year when I was getting ready to file my taxes, and I had to hire people to help me with like logging my receipts and stuff, because it was just so much and I just didn't have time for it because I was so busy working. So yeah, like as soon as you start doing self-employment work, just be aware that you like have to start that process of keeping track of your information for taxes. And now you might be wondering, if I'm getting paid in cash, why do I have to keep track of this information? Why do I even have to file taxes? Why can't I keep all my money for myself? And I'll tell you. And that brings me to my next point, which is that a lot of things get more complicated when you're self-employed. If you have a regular job where you get paid like every 2 weeks, if you want to go buy a car, when they are approving you for the loan, they ask for your proof of income. You just show them a pay stub and they're like, okay, this is how much you make. Your income is proven. If you're self-employed, good God, it is so much harder. And that's where you need your tax returns. So that's why you need to be really diligent about making sure you're keeping track of all your information and filing your taxes. And some people want to like deduct literally everything so that they don't have to pay any taxes. But the problem is the more you deduct from your income, the lower your remaining income, your gross income will be. And your gross income is what they look at when they're approving you for a loan. So if you're making good money, but you're deducting everything and your gross income is like $5,000 for the previous year, you're not going to get the loan. I did not know that. I bought a car like right before I became self-employed and I thought it would last me for a while, but then I had a blown head gasket like 2 years later, and it was really hard to get approved for a loan because I didn't know about the gross income thing, so I deducted everything and I had like no income to show. And then also when you start a new business, they want to see 2 years of tax returns, and I didn't even like file taxes the first year because I didn't have any like information together. I hadn't been saving any money. I mean, I barely made any money, so I didn't have anything left over. So I just didn't file taxes. And then when I had to get a loan, they were like, show us your tax returns. And I was like, I don't have any. But honestly, there are just a lot of consequences like that for not having a typical 40-hour-a-week, 9-to-5 job, unfortunately. Society is just kind of not set up very well for people that are part-time employed, independent contractors, self-employed. There are just a lot of things that are harder if you're in those situations. There have been a lot of moments where I felt like I was incentivized to stay in that path of the 40-hour week 9 to 5 job, because at least where I am in the US, health insurance is very expensive and difficult as a self-employed person. I pay out of pocket every month for my health insurance, and I pay a lot less than a lot of people do, but it's still a pretty big budget item for me. It's still like quite difficult for me to hold down. You also don't get any kind of sick days or retirement benefits like you would get at a more traditional job. And so you really have to like make extra money to make up for the fact that you're not getting these benefits. And it's like, I very much feel that my career path is the right one for me. I think there are a lot of people that just do better with self-employment or part-time work or whatever alternative work situation. And unfortunately, life is just more difficult in certain ways if you choose that path. Another challenging thing about self-employment is you do not get paid based on hard work. If you're an employee at a place of business, you are required to get a certain minimum wage paid to you every single hour. It may not be a lot, it may not be much to live on, but you can count on that. And that is very much not the case when you're self-employed. And I know that's like kind of an obvious thing to say, but it is so possible to work so freaking hard as a self-employed person and make so little money, especially when you're starting out. A lot of things just come with time. And like in those first couple of years especially, you can work so freaking hard and just like struggle to get any kind of momentum in your business. And I think it's a really bitter pill to swallow for people that are newer to being self-employed. Like people go into this type of work because they feel confident in their skills and what they have to offer, and they know that they are willing to work hard to make their dreams come true, and then it's just like not happening. And it's something I definitely struggled with. It's something I've seen a lot of other people struggle with. It's just really hard on you emotionally when you're putting all this time in and the end of the month comes and you have no money, but you still have bills to pay. When you're working for yourself, you are your own manager. Like, if you get an entry-level job, someone tells you every day what you have to do, and like big decisions about what's happening in the company are made by someone else. And like for a lot of people, that's very frustrating. For me, it was very frustrating. I didn't always agree with what other people said was the right course of action for the company, but it's very difficult to be taking on all of those decisions for yourself. Like if your business is struggling, it's your responsibility to figure out what you have to do about it. And you have to make these decisions kind of blindly because you don't know right away what's going to pay off and what isn't. And I personally have kind of like an entrepreneurial streak. Like I like taking all of that on myself, but it is very stressful. And let me tell you, it's not for everyone. Also, like if you're a sole proprietor or you're like the main person that's working at this business, you kind of have to do everything. Like when I started doing self-employment work, I was a model. Like that was what I knew how to do, was like do my makeup and stand in front of a camera. But I very quickly found out that that was not enough. Obviously, I had to do my accounting, as I mentioned. I had to get really into online marketing, and I had never been a social media person in my life. I still kind of don't like social media that much, but let me tell you, I post almost every day because I have to. There's an element of sales, like if someone's considering hiring you, you have to kind of like explain to them why it's worth it and gently guide them towards hiring you. Like the list could go on forever. Like there's just so much you have to learn and so many different things that you have to try in order to find out what works and what doesn't. And the reality is you'll probably find yourself spending a lot of time doing work that you didn't specifically want to do, that you didn't specifically sign up for when you were trying to be like a model or photographer, whatever you're trying to do, because that's running a business. Like, especially when you're starting out, especially when it's just you or mostly you kind of have to do everything yourself. Which brings me to my final point, which is that when you monetize your hobby, it stops being a hobby. And this is something that like people talk about. It's something I had heard before I started doing self-employment work, but I didn't really understand it until like a couple years into that path. I think it's really kind of hard to understand what it's going to be like, especially if you're like me and you're stuck at a job that you hate and you're just dreaming of doing what you love day in and day out, it's hard to imagine how that could be emotionally taxing or how it could not be fun. And I'm not trying to say I don't like my work, because I do. I like look forward to my work. I enjoy my work, but it is work and I don't always feel like it. Sometimes I get burned out. Sometimes I run out of ideas. Sometimes I get frustrated because things aren't going the way that I want them to. And it's just really important when you're self-employed to find balance. And it's hard to do because it's just really easy for your work to consume your whole life, especially if it's like something that you used to do for fun in your free time. It can really easily become like your work and your fun. And it's
Came back from a search.
Oh my God. My phone just turned itself on and did a search for Be Easily Pecan Lake, and it's showing me real estate listings in Little Rock, Arkansas. That was a little creepy. Gonna put that away. Let's have some more tea. But anyway, like, I feel like there's sort of this like workaholic, entrepreneurial, like girl boss culture on social media where it's like all about the hustle mindset and the grind and like working day in and day out to make your dreams come true. And the reality is like, it's not healthy, it's not sustainable. Everybody needs time to be not working. Everyone needs time to like relax and reset their brains. Some people need it more than others, but I definitely think like it's important to start slotting that in early because it's easier to prevent burnout than like come back from hitting a wall and just like having a terrible relationship to this thing that you once loved. So once you like monetize your hobby and it becomes your career, I think it's really important to find different hobbies. Like I used to model and belly dance in my free time. And now that that's my work, I like to cook and garden in my free time. And I just think it's really like good, especially for people in creative jobs, to give your mind like a rest and give it a chance to like work on different things, because it's so easy to stagnate, especially when there's like money involved and you're using this work to pay your bills. You need to take your mind off of it, and that'll help you maintain your creativity and maintain your inspiration. And that ultimately is what will help you succeed. So that's just kind of like some of the things that I was thinking about recently on this topic. I'm definitely not trying to scare anyone off from being self-employed. I love my career. I definitely think I chose the exact right path for myself. And if you are interested in being self-employed, if it's something that's been calling to you, I definitely think you should follow your dreams and you should do what feels right for you. But I also think that there are upsides and downsides to any career path, and it's good to like inform yourself and arm yourself with as much knowledge as possible before you get started with this career so that you know how to navigate it and so that you're prepared. Don't be like me, kids. I was not prepared. So to anyone that's like interested in pursuing a self-employment career, to anyone that's feeling like inspired to go in that direction or who is getting ready to make that leap, I say good luck to you. I love to see people going off on that path and pursuing their dreams. I think it's really exciting. Let me know in the comments if that's you. I'm really curious to hear like what you guys are doing and what you're dreaming of doing. Give this a thumbs up if you liked it or found it helpful. Subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you guys in the next video.